You cannot seem to get to me. I am back with a stolen identity.
Deadly Tarantula Girl coming to you from my private serpentarium tonight to bring you the first in a new series that I'm going to be doing. This is a series called What's the Difference?, where I'm going to be comparing two very like animals. I did a similar video with Chris Curtis in which I showed the differences between a green tree python and an emerald tree boa. Those are two snakes that a lot of people do confuse very often because they have a lot of physical similarities, and it was brought to my attention by Riesman that we ought to start a series in which we point out the differences between animals that people often confuse. This series is sponsored by Bonnie and Jesse Riesman's business, Tools of the Trade, and you can find their tools online, and I will link all of that information below. They sell really great animal handling equipment like snake hooks, they sell probes, and all kinds of other things that you would need. The locking bucket lid, which I actually did a whole video on their amazing locking bucket. So without any further ado, let's look at what's the difference between frogs and toads. For the purpose of this video, I went out and collected some wild caught specimens that are going to be returned to the wild as soon as we're done filming. So this little cutie right here is a wonderful specimen of a toad. You might notice, first of all, that toads have bumpy, rough skin. Although they require water, they are not aquatic like a frog is. They have thicker, rougher skin in order to be able to tolerate drier living conditions. They are ground-dwelling, unlike frogs, which are semi or primarily aquatic. Of course, I should say right off the bat, there are lots of species of frogs and several species of toads. What they have in common is that they both are amphibians. They come from the same scientific order, Anura, but they are in different families. Frogs come from the family Ranidae, whereas toads come from the family Bufonidae. They come from the same order, but then scientifically they split off at the family. Now this might be confusing, but a toad is technically a type of frog, but not all frogs are toads. Their lifespans are similar, from about 7 to 15 years, with a few species living to be as old as 40 years, and that they do not give you warts. So that is a myth. The toad has rough, bumpy skin, so they can live on land. They have kind of a short, squat build with short legs, and as far as their locomotion, they tend to hop or crawl. They have no teeth, and the eyes are on the sides of their heads. They have different methods of getting around, and they have a different diet. They eat primarily insects that live on land, flying insects, crawling insects that would be in the areas that they live in. They are opportunistic feeders. You would think whatever is buzzing around the garden that they're living in, those are the types of things they are going to be eating. Let's take a look at a frog. There are several types of toads and several types of frogs, and you can usually find an exception to the rule. Because frogs are eating things that are found in the water, such as small fish and snails and things like that that tend to be slimier, they do have teeth in their upper jaw, and you might notice that their eyes are on top of their heads, and most species of frogs can float at the top of the water with just their eyes sticking out, and then can actually depress their eyes into their skulls, some of them completely flat. Because they are aquatic, they do have a large webbed foot and a long, slender body which can propel them through the water. So you can see that their bodies are shaped differently. They tend to be long and slender instead of kind of fat and squat like a toad. They've got giant, long, muscular legs with webbed feet rather than the short, chunky little legs that a toad has. And frogs typically have webbed toes, whereas toads often don't. I hope you enjoyed this episode of What's the Difference? Frogs versus Toads, brought to you by Tools of the Trade. Let me know if this cleared up misconceptions for you, along with your ideas about what I should compare in the next video. I want to thank Jessie once again for making this wonderful suggestion, and don't forget to check out Tools of the Trade. Hope you guys like this one. Make sure to watch out for our next What's the Difference video. I hope you guys like this one, and I'll see you soon.